Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Joey Lee and this episode is going to be about explaining borderline personality disorder to others. First off, I would just like to say that anyone who does not have borderline personality disorder has no idea what a borderline person goes through. Let me break it down for you. Borderline personality disorder is a person and a disorder in which you experience pervasive ongoing trouble with emotions, behaviors, thoughts, relationships, etc. In order to be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, you must have five of the nine characteristics. One is sensation seeking, which is act, sexually acting out, substance abuse, uncontrolled spending sprees, binge eating, reckless behavior, including highly aggressive driving, extreme sports, shoplifting, destructing property. These impulsive behaviors we're talking about are both risky and self-damaging, and that is usually what people with BPD look to do. They look to self-mutilate, whether it's damaging themselves, damaging property, damaging their bodies, or just damaging something in general to relieve stress and pain. Now, another symptom is also self-harm, and particularly where people deliberately cut themselves, burn themselves, mutilate their skin, their hands, their bodies, they break their bones on purpose, etc. Then there's something called a roller coaster of emotions, where people with BPD experience extreme mood swings. One minute you could feel on top of the world, and then you can plunge into despair the next. Your mood swings are intense, but usually only last for minutes. Now, pay close attention. They can last from minutes to hours. Okay, they usually never last longer than that. But the emotional flip-flops often occur in response to some sort of trivial trigger. There's a trivial trigger in each issue that everyone goes through. Now, let me explain as well that there's also something called explosiveness, where you have bouts of anger, rage, and you dramatize everything. Being as a BPD patient, you will dramatize everything. You will look to wreak havoc on everyone's world. You will look to complain, yell, scream. Whatever you can do, you will look to possibly do just to drive a person crazy. And you have no control over it. That's just a symptom of having BPD. Another symptom would be worries about abandonment. That would be issues that you exhibit, whether you were abandoned as a child, you get abandoned in a relationship. That leaves you very dependent and very clingy to someone, whether it be a family member, a friend, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, etc. And not a lot of people tend to understand that due to the fact that not a lot of people understand that people could have been abandoned the way they had been abandoned in that sense of the word. Now, I would also like to explain something else to you. There's something called unclear and unstable self-concept. And that is when you have a problem with your own identity and you are unsure of yourself, where you stand, how you feel, the way you look at things, and the things that you do. Now, nobody seems to realize that there are many ways that things can change for people. There are many ways that you can change your identity. There are many ways in which you look to change yourself so that someone may understand you. Okay? That's another symptom. The next symptom is emptiness. BPD people tend to feel painfully empty inside. They have cravings for something more. They always want something more, and they always feel as though something is missing and there is something that they cannot get back. Now, this means that usually in most cases, When a BPD patient feels like they have basically nothing to live for, it's called a black hole in which they've crawled into, and they feel as though there's no getting out. So they're always basically trying to fill that black hole that lives deep within them. Then there's something called up and down relationships, which resemble like revolving doors. BPD patients go in and out of relationships because due to the fact that, how can I explain? Due to the fact that a BPD patient requires a lot of attention and can be clingy and expects a lot, they don't seem to realize that they push people whom they love and care about in the opposite direction and away from them because people get scared. Now, that is not a BPD person's fault. It's just whom they are. And a lot of people are not used to it, nor are they able to accept it. Then there's something called disassociation and feeling out of touch with reality. This is very rare, but this is when you hear voices telling you what to do, you see things that aren't really there, you imagine things happening that really aren't happening. Those are the types of things that basically what dissociation feels like. And it's usually not happening in the way that you seem to think it is. It's usually happening in a different sense of the word. So usually you seem to think that these things are all happening at once, but they're not. Now, a big issue for people with borderline personality disorder is rocky relationships. A BPD patient or person wants so desperately to have a good relationship, but in their efforts to do so, they end up sabotaging it, not on purpose, but just because that is what happens with their disorder. It is not their fault, nor are they making it their fault. It just seems to happen. People with BPD ache to fill a dark hole within them, which requires they need a lot of attention, unconditional love. They need someone who will bring them out of their shell and let them see their best potential for having their highest, most important level of self-esteem. Because that is a very big issue with BPD patients. They don't have a very high level of self-esteem. They actually frown upon themselves, which in most cases is very unhealthy. I don't look at things like that, and I don't think that anyone themselves should, because you should not look at yourself as being different just because you have borderline personality disorder. Not a lot of people may realize, but BPD people have a serious issue with feeling abandoned. They never feel as though they're worthy of getting what they really want. So they usually don't believe someone when they say they truly love them and care about them. A BPD person will then be sent into a rage and is going to expect you to stay even when they're pushing you away. And your reaction should not be taken this entire situation as an insult, because it's not. A BPD person has no control over it. They try so hard, but they have no control over it. But instead, you should just try to do your research in understanding what this BPD person is going through, that half the times they have no control over what they're doing, and it becomes painful and hurtful. A natural brain has normal break responses, where a BPD brain does not function at a regular rate, nor can it be able to stop. That is why they tend to act before they think, in reality, sometimes causing trouble. A BPD person will react and then think about what they've done, because they don't have the mentality in their brain to stop and say, okay, let me think this through, and now I'm going to take action and take force. That's not the way a BPD brain works. It's, I'm going to kick ass and take names later. And I know that sounds funny, but that's the way that we think. I myself think like that. I usually react and then think about the consequences later, and sometimes regret what I've done due to the consequences I'm going to face later on. Certain common impulsive behaviors BPD people have no control over are impulsive spending, which I myself have, gambling, which a good friend of mine has, unsafe sex, not so much, reckless driving, excessive eating binges. I will get my days where I don't want to eat absolutely anything, and then all of a sudden I want to eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. But the only thing is I don't throw up. I don't have anorexia or bulimia or anything like that. I will just eat. Alcohol abuse, never really did it. Drug abuse, street and prescription, yes I have. When I was in pain, I abused prescription pills. I abused prescription pain pills in a very bad way, because it numbed the pain, because they had me on all the wrong medications, and my only salvation was taking pain pills, because I was like, oh, thank God. Like, it just felt like a breath of fresh air, because it felt like I was numb and nothing could no longer hurt me. And that's the sad part, because you don't want to think like that, but you do. Then there's something called emotions for BPD people. They shift as fast as the clouds pass. Their moods are always shaky and usually attention grabbing. On a BPD note, when we usually release our emotions, we tend to have a problem regaining steady ground. In the same day, a BPD person can experience anywhere from 2 to 8 moods and then cannot get themselves back on track. I can speak for that. I can experience anxiety, depression, anger, rage, happiness, laughter, and feeling broken all in a matter of hours, and don't know how to get myself back on track. And it's been that way ever since I've been diagnosed with the condition. And trust me, it's not an easy thing to deal with for a person with borderline personality disorder, and for a person who's either dealing with them, whether it be a family member, a partner, a significant other, a sibling, a friend, anything. It's not easy at all. People with BPD think differently than most people do. We look at things in an all or nothing manner, meaning at first we look at things as black and then white with just a few specks of gray. There's no in between for us. There's black, which is one side. There's white, which is the other side. And on occasion, we might be able to see the little specks of gray in the center trying to come in to bring the two together. But we see in our way, which frustrates people. I'm sorry to have to tell everyone, you are going to have a very hard time trying to switch someone's way of thinking, because you can't. You can't switch someone's way of thinking when they are thinking about something so much that it cannot be changed. It can't be changed, because what happens is we'll look at things as completely wonderful or completely awful. It's either one or the other. There's never an in-between. There's never anything. Just like the people in our lives could either be devils or angels. You could be the perfect person. Do one wrong thing and you'll be the worst person. And we look at things as hopeful and hopeless. Either everything is perfect and it's as hopeful as anything can get, or it's hopeless and you have no more luck and you can't do it anymore, because there's just no in-between thinking. The origins of BPD, though, are trauma, histories of abuse and neglect or loss, genetics, it could run in the family, Parenting, when parents make you feel as though what you're going through does not matter or they've abandoned you. Culture, it happens more so in certain cultures and populations, especially in the Midwest. But another thing people don't realize, there's something called triggers. Now, triggers are things that happen to people. It's a circumstance that happens that produces symptoms that make you upset, especially a BPD person. Now, that might be an anniversary date from a loss or a trauma, sad or traumatic news, being overtired, work stress, regular stress, family friction, a relationship ending, spending too much time alone, which is no good for any BPD person. I know you like to spend time alone, but I don't recommend it. I myself have BPD, and I notice that the more time I spend alone, the more depressed I get, which works out to be the worst thing for you. Other things that may trigger bad moods are being judged or criticized, being teased or put down, financial problems, physical illness, sexual harassment. Sexual harassment can bring you down for a while. I would know. I was sexually assaulted and I overcame it, but it was difficult. But I had my family and my friends to help me through it. It was not an easy thing, and I felt dirty and disgusting and horrible for a while, wondering what I had done so wrong. And there are many other triggers because everyone has different triggers. I would like everyone to know that this will be continued because I'm going to do a part 2 of this video to show you guys the coping skills for which people have borderline personality disorder. I will be explaining to you guys how to cope with it, things that you can do, books you can read, therapies that you can go with someone for or recommend to someone. I'm going to help everyone through this most traumatic time in their life. I will be here at all times to answer questions, to help you guys through, to be an ear when you need someone to listen. I have a page on Facebook that is called Borderline Personality Disorder Discussion Group. Feel free to come anytime to discuss anything. And it's not just about having BPD. You can come and discuss depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety, panic disorder, schizophrenia. You can come and discuss eating disorders if you'd like, and I will be more than happy to be your friend and help you along and help you through. Until next time, I hope this video is most helpful, and good luck to all my fellow BPD patients and friends.